Greetings, everyone. Welcome once again to the Oz and Crew Reviews podcast. I'm here once again with my co-host, Mad Matt.
Once again, answered the call.
Ugh. Why'd you do that? Why'd you fucking... The movie caused enough pain without you making bad jokes, too. Uh,
It is
we're,
my second time watching this movie.
we're gonna handle things a little different than usual. So, like, rather than go over, like, a whole synopsis for this movie, because it's overall very similar story beats to the original Ghostbusters, just with women who tell bad jokes throughout the whole movie.
And surrounded by really dumb people.
The main differences between the original and this, as far as the overall story goes, is that the government are bigger dickheads in this than they were in the first two movies, because they basically say, we know ghosts are real, but fuck you anyhow.
We're just going to make you our scapegoats for everything anyways and treat you poorly, but you're our only defenders of the city.
Which just is so. We'll get into that when we talk about how stupid everybody in this movie is. The other thing is rather than Zool, the main antagonist of the story in this is a disgruntled janitor at a hotel who wants revenge on society for not treating him well. So he's gonna bring about like the ghost apocalypse, basically.
He's a super genius, and you can do that somehow, even
Yeah,
though you couldn't have done something more creative with your skills.
yeah.
I mean, come on.
I can destroy the world, but I can't figure out how to fucking make money.
Right?
It's just it. I mean, yeah, it is kind of stupid. Like I understand that the Ghostbusters themselves use technology, but it's kind of disappointing that like the main cause of the problem in the movie is not some powerful ghostly force, but is rather somebody else using technology to stir up the undead.
And just because he's a disappointed a-hole.
Right. So we've talked about some bad movies on this podcast and originally on the Outhouse podcast, where the list of bad movies we've looked at includes the original Dungeons and Dragons movie,
Mm-hmm.
Masters of the Universe, Jason Goes to Hell,
Mm-hmm.
the old Super Mario Brothers movie,
Oops.
the Double Dragon movie, the
Yep.
Wizard, which
Mm-hmm.
isn't as bad as some of those other ones, the Dead or Alive movie,
Oof.
uh, Final
That was a
Fantasy,
close one.
Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within,
Yawn.
the Matrix sequels,
Mhm.
and Aragon.
And Aragon.
Out of all of those, this is the only one other than Jason Goes to Hell that actually just fucking made me angry.
It's just so infuriating what they've done to a franchise.
It's like, and then here's the thing: is like overall the actual story concept on paper is fine.
Yeah.
The problem is, we said this while we were watching it. Every character in this is basically a child in an adult's body.
Yep.
Every
Everybody.
every
No one is safe from it.
everyone acts like an immature, stupid child in this. And from what I understand, part of that is because fucking Paul Feig just let everybody ad lib whatever the hell they wanted throughout the course of the whole movie.
Maybe had a start and maybe had an end point for every scene, but yeah, otherwise the in betweens, he didn't care. He just shrugged and sat back.
So many of the jokes are just. The funny
Ugh.
thing is I don't remember most of the jokes.
The
Now
only good
we
joke
just
was the
watched it.
food joke.
Which joke?
The food joke. The wonton soup.
Oh yeah, because
That's the only good joke in the whole movie.
that yep. So those that don't understand, she gets Chinese food delivered. Abby, who was played by Melissa McCarthy, gets
Hmm.
Chinese food delivered, and she's got wonton soup, which is it's in a clear container because you can see it is literally a large container of broth with one busted wonton sitting at the bottom of the cup.
That's the first
And
encounter.
and that's funny because it's relatable. Everybody's had shitty food that they got delivered or that they picked up from like a drive-through or something where you get home and you're just like, "What the fuck? This looks like shit." Everybody's been through that. So it's
She has another soup later that has more or less the same problem. Later on, they shoot up the delivery guy's vehicle, and then at the very end of the movie, he gives her the exact opposite, where it's all wonton and barely any broth.
um
It's just like happy middles, please.
and oh, oh man, maybe we should go through the overall casting in this, talking about each character individually.
The individual cast members. Okie
So
dokie.
the first person we're really introduced to is Aaron
Kristen Wiig.
Aaron Gilbert, played by Kristen Wiig,
Yeah.
who
She's
at least
supposed to be the straight, stiff, proper, like, educated person, but then she has this whole shtick about ghosts, and that's usually when she starts turning into a kid again.
yep. As soon as she actually believes they've actually stumbled upon she goes from not wanting her name attached to it to being, oh my god, it's real. Um, and the thing is, like I said this when we were watching it, so like the opening scene where they show you inside that, what was it, a mansion,
Yeah.
where it's like the first real like ghost incident that happens in the movie. That was overall fine. It was a fine build up. There were some stupid gags in it, but that's gonna happen with anything. Not every
There's a couple of bad gag lines, but there's also some interesting subterfuge because one of the things that happens is that candle tips over at a very incidental time. Come to find out it's fake. But then, just as you find out that's fake, so you see other things suddenly happening that shouldn't be happening, and it's starting to cause this guy to freak out.
right. And then there was the part where, yeah, we see Kristen Wiig's character at her university because she's a college professor. And a guy comes in because he read her book about ghosts, and she's like, there were only two copies of that. How did you get it? Oh, it's being sold on Amazon. She finds out that the partner she made it with had actually published it, which led into her going there to visit Abby, who was played by Melissa McCarthy, and we find out that's also where uh, Jillian Holtzman, his character, is a character that's introduced, who's played by Kate McKinnon. And that's where the movie immediately goes to shit because everybody just starts acting like obnoxious children at this point.
On the frequent, yeah.
Yes, like
As opposed to occasionally when they have something to flip out over, and now it's just like almost constant.
like it's not exactly like one for one, but it's almost like Aaron shows up there and they start making yo mama jokes at her.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like, honestly. Like there was that kind of quality of stupid humor, making fun of them,
A fart joke. Maybe it's a queef joke.
saying stupid things that you would say to a kid while you're trying to bully them at school, but it's a bunch of grown-ups acting this way,
Yeah.
and it just is nonstop throughout the whole movie. I remember we got to the point where they introduced Leslie Jones' character, who was
Patty.
Patty, and I was like, oh my god, she's actually having normal human reactions to things, and
And she's good for most of it, but there are some
the
points where she still hits that weird moment, and it's like, oh,
yeah,
never mind.
yeah, like when she brings them a car to use and she's doing the GoPro, you get a car and you get a car and you get a car. It's like that
Why
joke.
do we get
That
cars?
joke
What?
doesn't work because you're pointing at three people that are all getting the same singular car, so that joke doesn't work. It
Well,
doesn't make sense. Much
it also it was an age joke then.
most of the times I actually laughed during this. It wasn't because something was actually a good joke. It was because something just caught me off guard and I didn't expect it.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it. You're not laughing because it's actually funny.
You're laughing
Some
because
of
it's
it
awkward.
is, but you're laughing because it's awkward and it's like, oh god, this fucking movie sucks.
Because like most of they get a secretary played by Chris Hemsworth, whose name is Kevin, and it's just made me realize, man, everything Chris Hemsworth is in where he's not playing Thor seems to just suck for some reason. I don't know how that keeps happening. And he's literally a himbo. That's his whole thing.
Yeah.
He's a dumb, good-looking guy, and like what was it? You know, he answered the phone wrong, and then he hung up on the person because he didn't like that they were freaking out about there being a ghost in their house, and you're just like, oh, that's so funny that he hung up on someone in duress. Ha ha. Such good comedy writing. I don't understand.
Yeah, just such horrible character dialogue, even in the in between talks between people too.
And the other joke that I remember, and this is one I mainly remember because I had heard people make fun of it multiple times before actually watching the movie, is when she's taunting. What was the villain's name? The
Oh, where
Rowan,
was yeah, I was
Rowan,
just
Rowan,
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 yeah.
played by Neil Casey.
Which
There,
apparently he's also gone on to do quite a
which
bit now. He's
which
on TV shows and stuff.
like the weird thing is, so like aside from the fact that he's using technology, when they finally confront him the first time, he literally uses the technology to kill himself and become a ghost. But then later on, when they're actually trying to fight him, and when he's a ghost, freaking Abby, Melissa McCarthy's character, says, "Ah, we found your virginity in the Lost and Found." That joke doesn't make sense because in order for his virginity to be in the Lost and Found, he would have had to lose his virginity, which is the complete opposite of the joke you were trying to make.
Yeah, even the joke writing doesn't work
I just what is
on a
ah.
basic level.
But
But then
overall,
also he still throws back childish insults back to them too. And it's like this is supposed to be a super genius who just learned their technology by barely reading brief notes in a book. How? Why? Never explained. No good reasons. Somehow he's also a man child, and it's just like forget it.
yeah, just everybody in this is basically like just a like we said, just a kid stuck in an adult's body. Even the freaking government officials, because like even after the final thing happens, where there's mass chaos, there's ghosts everywhere in the middle of New York City. Like the mayor tries to pretend it was a mass hallucination. Everybody was just everyone just imagined it.
Even though his second command is taking it much more seriously. Thank God
Right,
somebody
right,
fucking
right.
is.
But then I think didn't the reporter like say something along the lines? So sort of, are you saying that the water's drugged?
And then also it took a couple of seconds before the mayor just kind of clicked and went, "Wait, what?"
Well, yeah, and it's so stupid because the thing is like, and maybe they would have went this route if they actually had made a sequel. But like, a politician that just acts like that didn't happen when it happens is not going to get reelected.
Nope,
So
will not be reelected.
it's like how would you think you can just spin that it didn't actually happen? Like it's just that's not going to work. Uh, but yeah, I think we both. I didn't expect this going into it. We both liked Leslie Jones' character the most out of everybody in it because she was the most just
He was just a
normal.
more genuine, normal character.
She was.
Again, she has moments where she still flips out and does really stupid things because the script says so, but she also has the much better moments um, like the first time she's on a ghost hunt with the rest of the team. If I see those twins from The Shining, I'm gonna faint. We walks into a room full of mannequins, and even I have the same knee jerk reaction of "Oh fuck no!" And she's like, "Oh yes, a room full of nightmares. No thanks."
Yeah. Well,
And
and the
starts
thing is,
immediately walking away.
the first time she sees a ghost without anyone else there, she has the completely rational reaction of, "Oh hell no," and just leaves.
Oh hell no, you're good over there. Bye. And immediately tries to run away. Yeah.
Yeah, like she is the most normal person that has the most normal reactions that most people would actually have if stuck in her situation.
Mm-hmm.
Except for some of the occasional jokes that come out of her mouth, like the freaking Oprah reference that just is like,
For
why?
reference, her getting over the top during that crazed possession fight after Rowan kills himself and temporarily takes over Abby.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that happens in there is it's over the top and unnecessary as well.
Um,
From all three of them during that fight, they literally almost turned into what was it? Those one of those Wukong films where it's like the weird wire work.
oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, that was also. I'm glad you mentioned that because that brings up the plot inconsistency I wanted to talk about. Yeah, so Rowan becomes a ghost. There's a point
Mm-hmm.
where he possesses Abby, and Abby is slapping around Leslie Jones' character Patty and the other
Well,
one.
Patty's the only one that's able to
Yeah,
keep up
right,
with
right,
her, but
right,
she's totally about to murk Jillian.
right, right. And the thing is, she grabs Jillian by the neck and lifts her off the ground. This is something that Abby would clearly not have the physical strength to do. But then later in the movie, when Rowan has possessed Chris Hemsworth's character Kevin, he beats up these guards and kicks open a door and is like, man, maybe I should have worked out more when I was alive. As if now it's the body that's giving him the strength and not the fact that he's a ghost possessing a person.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I assume the strength of the person also helps amplify his own abilities. But at the same time, it's like you were already owning people pretty hardcore just a
Yes.
little while ago.
Yeah, you literally picked someone up off the ground by their neck and slammed them through a window. I'm pretty positive even in Abby's body you would have been able to kick that door open based on what we saw you do earlier.
Not to mention doing a whole 180 with her head.
Yeah, that thing too. Yeah, doing the obvious
Doing the exorcism.
reference. Yes. It's like, oh, I know what that's a reference to. One of
One
the
thing she didn't do was spit pea soup in their face.
yeah, but plenty of
They
the other
did that to Aaron earlier when she got slimed.
yeah, I was gonna say plenty of the other ghosts already did that though without that happening. Um, and the funny thing is, so like as I said, Leslie Jones' character is the one that was overall the most tolerable
Yeah.
throughout the movie. But I also said, I said that Kate's character Jillian was the one that I thought had the best look going on, but they gave her the most insufferable personality out of the whole
Yes.
cast
Mm-hmm.
because
Most
just
interesting look, but also the worst character.
because she wasn't just childish, she also kind of came off as fucking insane most of the time. Because she just
Insane and obnoxious. Like purposely so. Just absolutely abrasive.
like has someone first time someone's gonna use a proton pack, she like asks someone. She asked Aaron or Wade or something. I can't remember what it was. She asked her exactly. She asked her some sort of like health information, and then she put a
Oh,
she put a
Iron.
yeah, she put a collar on her to like ground her, and then asked her that information. He goes, "Ah, you'll probably survive. Like it'll be fine." It's like, why the fuck do you have to write the character like that.
That's reasons.
And
Because
it's
it's
like,
not good enough to be a smart character. You have to also be flipping crazy while you're
yeah,
smart.
and
Some reason.
the thing is, like in the original movies, like Bill Murray's character was kind of childish, like a childish, horny man, basically.
A childish, horny man who is boisterous at times, but he also has moments of grounding.
Right. But he also, even when he was acting like that, he had the other characters that weren't exactly like him to balance him out. The problem is, too many of the characters in this act childish, and Leslie Jones is the only one there to balance any of them out.
There's not enough grounding to be put around at that point.
And yeah, and the thing is, they made Chris Hemsworth as a secretary like a fucking idiot. It's like,
Can't even do his job.
yeah, it can't even do his job. It's like nowhere near
More
as
interested he's basically more interested in using them as a foot locker, or a giant locker for all of
right.
his sports gear so that he can keep running off the things.
Yeah. And he's nowhere near as interesting a character as like Janine from the
Yeah,
original trilogy, which is
Janine's a far more interesting character.
which is funny. Is like, so almost every character you replaced from the original, whether it be replacing a guy with a man, uh, or I just said a guy with a man,
Yep,
a guy with a woman, or a woman with a guy, we both, no matter what, in almost every case, we get a worse character.
yep. Doesn't even matter what the flop was; it's still a flop and a bad one.
Should we talk about the cameos?
No, we haven't actually.
I said, should we?
So, oh, should we? We can. They're very brief. We can mention them. We do get Janine's actress in here. She plays the lead hostess at the hotel. She basically is to tell the Ghostbusters, yeah, whatever. You know what? Just get rid of the guy. We're done messing with him. He's a weird creep. Um, we do get uh, we do get Bill in here. He for some reason they gave him the most time out of anybody who was doing a cameo, even though he was also the hardest one to get because he had absolutely zero interest in the movie and never said a good thing about this film. But all of them were technically contractually tied to make at least an appearance in any Ghostbusters medium at the time. And
He played a
Bill,
ghost. He played a ghost debunker, basically.
yeah, Bill placed the Ghost Debunker, had a couple of lines, even showed up at the Ghostbusters headquarters above the Chinese shop, and gets literally tossed out the window by a ghost because he wanted to see evidence.
Yeah, and we don't actually get to find out what his reaction to that evidence was, if he even survived. We don't know if he survived being thrown out the window.
As far as we're aware, he's dead.
Yeah, they don't tell you. You just see the Ghostbusters being questioned by the police after this, and they're like, "Who threw him out the window?" Don't actually hear anything about his condition or anything. So
The
it's like,
reason, well, the fact that they don't even mention his conditions is why I believe he's just dead.
but
Um,
the fact that they don't straight up say that
means something, yeah.
basically means it's an unresolved plot point, because they actually made his character a plot point instead of just a quick cameo.
Yeah.
Then we get Dan Aykroyd as a taxi driver.
We get Dan Aykroyd as a stereotypical New York taxi driver.
Who
No,
knows? Who
afraid
knows?
no ghost.
He knows exactly what's going on. He even calls the ghosts by what they were, which was like a class 4 something or other. I can't remember what it was.
A class 3 spectral mist apparition, and I don't care.
Yeah, it's like he straight up knows what's happening. And he's like, I don't care. It's none of my business, which is funny.
I ain't going to Chinatown, especially not this hour of the day, and I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
I was
You
like,
have a good day.
yeah, it's like you give him the shortest cameo out of everybody in the movie, and he had the best lines for his cameo.
Except for the little extra at the bit end there.
Yes, where
Oh,
we find out that Jillian's mentor is a character that was played by
oh,
Sigourney Weaver.
there's that. Yeah.
Oh, I know you were
And,
talking about something
and
else.
she's a little quirky, but she's also oddly tame compared to Jillian. But also the uncle,
Right, right. Patty's uncle. Oh my God, I'm drawing a
Ernie
blank on.
Hudson.
Yeah, okay, played by Ernie Hudson.
Yeah, the name is always on the tip of my tongue, but I always have a bad memory for names.
Right.
But yeah, Ernie Hudson comes in out of nowhere with the hearse again, without the logos, and is like, "Where's the other one? I need the other one. It's apparently a double funeral or something. I don't know. It's very weird that you would need more than one hearse."
Yeah. Um, that I thought was the most well thought out cameo that they did in it, because they actually made him they had him play a character that's related to one of the new Ghostbusters instead of just being
Just
some
a
random
random
character.
cameo.
Right.
Yeah, and he actually does a decent portrayal for only being on screen for a few moments.
Right. So like I'd say most of the cameos were like even Bill Murray that wasn't that interesting. It was at least tolerable.
Yeah, they were interesting, but in the end, mostly pointless. They were
Because
just kind of there and gone.
I will admit, even though we know the role Bill Murray originally played, he also is really good at having that I don't believe you look on his face.
Oh yeah.
So he played his part perfect for what little he had to do. That so like I don't really have a complaint about his performance or anything. It's just unfortunate that like
It was kind of a
oh
waste.
overall the movie sucked because we let's talk about the final battle, whatever you want to call it. Um, I feel like they were trying to take a little bit of a suggestion from the original, making a similar thing to choose the form of your destroyer thing, where they ended up having to face a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, where like Rowan asks them what kind of ghost they want him to look like, and Patty says small and cute.
Oh, kind of like your little logo guy here. Sure, I can do that, and then immediately starts warping it.
Yeah, he starts warping. It gets really big. Gets like the size of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. At which point I'm like, now that he actually looks this big and kind of looks like he's made out of cloth instead of being a transparent ghost, he kind of looks like Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yep,
In fact, the fact that he got hit by fire and it
and
actually
lit up.
burned
Yeah,
him, I'm like, I don't think that's the way that kind of ghost is supposed to work. He's not made out of cloth, but like they made him look like he's made out of cloth, and physically his body is acting like it's made out of cloth, which was really weird to me.
yeah. It's very strange to decide to go with that.
And somewhere during all
Eh,
this chaos, where there are all these ghosts all over the place, that you pointed out, they all kind of look like shit.
They're all generic. They're all generic blue-skinned, red-eyed guys. They apparently they did have people in makeup for some of these ghosts or a number of these ghosts, but they just did such a generic particle wash of
Right.
CGI effects that they all look like the same damn thing.
It reminded me of how some video games that just feel like they just threw a fuck ton of particle effects in because they could, not because it actually looks particularly good.
The Power
Uh,
Rangers video game, we just threw in a bunch of putties.
but then amongst all that chaos, they just randomly have Slimer show
Slimer
up,
for a few gas moments too. Yep.
and then he steals their fucking car.
Um, the Stay Puft makes appearance as a balloon that nearly smothers three of them.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, because they had parade balloons that got possessed,
Hmm.
and those actually looked good. Like those,
Those actually look decent. Yeah.
it was very short lived, but those actually kind of looked terrifying. But But the way they end up resolving the thing is like what the portal to where I don't think they ever actually say where the ghosts are coming from, do they?
This some sort of supernatural realm.
Yeah, we don't know. Well, there's a portal in the ground, and they end up getting Slimer to drive their car into the portal, and then
Light the canisters on it
yeah,
so that
yeah,
does a depolarizing.
they blow up the equipment, or they zap the equipment that's on the back that they previously said was virtually a nuclear reactor, which yeah, it causes the portal to basically invert, so it starts sucking things in instead of letting them out.
So
And
they
they
reversed, as they would say in Doctor Who, they reversed the polarities of the neutron flow.
right, and so the big ghost gets sucked in, grabs Abby on the way in. So then Aaron has to tie a chain to herself and jump in after her, and it's this big, what would be an emotional moment as she saves her and pulls her back to safety. And
If we actually gave a
if we
care about
actually
these
cared about the
characters,
characters, which we don't, like we're like, we might have
it's like,
cared.
oh,
We
okay.
might have cared. We might have cared if Leslie Jones was the one that got grabbed and pulled into the portal. But that's
Yeah,
not
we
who
might have
got.
actually cared a little bit more. Yeah.
That's not who got grabbed. But these two are supposed to be like childhood friends, so it's supposed to be this big emotional thing, even though throughout the movie they kind of made us hate them. So not really. Though it was an interesting touch that when they got pulled back out of the ghost portal, their hair had turned white. Like there are little bits here, little bits of good writing ideas here and there, but it's just
It's just so poorly
it's
executed
yeah
and just
it's
so sadly done. It's
the
just rubs you the wrong way and you don't care
yeah
anymore.
the whole thing is just weighed down by the terrible execution of everything. Like
No,
I wish I could complain about more of the bad jokes, but like I said, I they
they're
literally
just
already
such forgettable bad
they
jokes.
left my mind, and we literally watched the movie like an hour ago. I don't fucking
Just make you groan and want to forget it, and you do.
I can't think of a time where I've actually had. And you know what the problem is? It's because there's so many of them. There's so many of them
Yeah,
sprinkled throughout the movie.
they
Well,
try so hard to be funny, yet it becomes even more unfunny.
like when there's like a bad joke here and there, you're more likely to remember it because they're not freaking machine gun firing the things into your face. Like, because remember when we watched Double Dragon, and we probably, and I think we all still remember this, the point where they had a guy from a gang that was called the Mailmen that got up on top of a building and yelled "airmail" as he
And
dived at them.
as he dived, yes, for some reason that joke always lands
Like
because it's just so bad.
it's just so bad and so
So
stupid.
bad and such a
And
piece of mwah, and it's
yeah,
terrible. I
and
love it.
it's terrible, but you remember it because there's some logic behind the joke.
Yeah,
Like because the whole joke is that he's part of a gang that's called the Mailmen, and he jumps off of a building and yells airmail. It's like that has set up to it that like none of the jokes in this do, really.
nope, that's not whatsoever. Matter of fact, half their attempts to joke around is them dancing to music randomly for no reason.
Oh yeah. Oh, and Jillian lip syncing while she sings into like her,
Yeah,
what was it, a soldering iron? I don't know.
I've heard working devices, and then randomly starts paper towel on fire.
I forgot about that.
Yep, and had to put it on herself too.
But so the big question is, Matt, is this better or worse than Jason Goes to Hell?
I would say in its entirety, it's about as sacrilege to the franchise that's originally part of, technically, as Jason Goes to Hell. I would say Jason Goes to Hell is only slightly worse because it's technically supposed to be canon. This was supposed to be its own new canon, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, this was supposed to be a reboot.
Yeah.
That is true. Like, yeah,
That's like the only saving grace is that literally, if you do not want to remember this movie, you don't have to.
Because I think, but you do agree with me that Jason Goes to Hell
This
and
is
this are like the two
Disney Goes to
worst.
Hell and this are like some of the worst things we've sat through and had to come back out here and talk about.
Because I don't remember like the thing is I don't remember any other movies we've watched that got us as annoyed as this. Like
Like
even
you just don't want to see any of the main cast get out of this because you just don't care
uh,
anymore.
like the original
You're
Dungeons,
all a holes. You're all stupid. You're all worthless. You know what? I wish Jason Voorhees was in this movie so he'd crush all of you,
like
including the ghosts.
the original Dungeons and Dragons movie. We didn't like it, but like there were parts where you could just kind of laugh at how stupid it was.
Yeah,
Masters of the Universe, I think we all kind of agreed was like one of those things where it's like,
it's a
eh,
weird product of its own
eh,
making, but it's still generally entertaining.
it's
Lots of
like
good action, lots of good effects.
it's a movie that's only bad because it's He Man.
It's only bad, yeah, because it's technically attached to He-Man, and there's enough He-Man stuff missing.
Like if it
But
was,
there's also enough good stuff.
yeah,
Like that's the best Skeletor ever put to
yeah.
print.
If it was its own original thing, it would probably be more fondly remembered.
Oh, probably. If
Um,
they would have done a few more tweaks and made it not Eternia. Oh yeah,
Super Mario is just dumb.
it's really dumb. Even if
it
it's not attached to Mario, it's a really dumb, weird movie.
but it's one of those things where you can just kind of if you can just kind of turn your brain off, you can kind of enjoy it. You can't do that with this though.
Yeah, no, this they keep forcing the Ghostbusters signal. They keep forcing different variants of the Ghostbusters theme song. They keep bringing up iconography, imagery, and sound effects, and then doing stuff to make you just regret you're even here.
I'd say the only thing that I think we've watched in the past that is almost around as bad as this and Jason Goes to Hell was the Double Dragon movie.
Yeah, because that just like had zero, absolutely nothing to do with Double Dragon outside of twins. Twins, Basil,
Right.
twins. There's a reference for you.
Because DOA, it's like was just
At least some of that they tried, but it definitely suffers too, big time.
some of the action scenes were at least
Uh,
decent.
The action sequences were all right. A couple of character choices weren't bad, but otherwise, in general, it's like, huh?
But then again, I think the other thing is we're not neither of us are
No,
invested
yeah,
in
neither of us are
DOA.
also big DOA fans either. Outside of, I had DOA 2, I think, for PlayStation 2 running around somewhere. Decent game.
But I'd say between this and Jason Goes to Hell, the way I look at these in comparison is that I think this movie, as bad as it is closer to the thing it's supposed to be than Jason
Technically,
Goes to Hell was to the rest of the Friday the 13th movies because of the fact that like that was a movie that was a canon sequel that just completely like
undermines everything and then tries to change everything in the future and then immediately gets forgotten.
yeah, it just completely makes up new bullshit for the lore with no explanation, where somehow a character knows all of this stuff that would have no real way to know any of it. It was weird.
Very strange
But I'd
movie.
actually say between the two of them, like the Ghostbusters movie is a more of an overall solid concept.
Yeah,
But J,
at
J,
least
J, but
at least the general broad strokes of it is
but
much more solid and much more prepared and done.
but I'd say
It's just the execution that took it all away.
I'd say Jason Goes to Hell is a terrible idea that is executed better than this movie in spite of being a terrible idea.
Yeah,
Because I remember I joked that if Jason Goes to Hell had been a Terminator movie, it would have worked better because the whole thing was him chasing down a certain person.
certain
Uh,
person while
and
trying to hide their face. Yeah, it would have been like a T-1000.
yeah, and it's
Well, it
like
works so much better.
and there were a couple Friday the 13th movies where he was focused seemed to be focusing on going after a certain person, but for the most part that wasn't his thing. He just went around killing everybody.
Yeah.
But this those are definitely the two worst as,
Hmm.
that we've done so far, and over the course of what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh, we got a couple we haven't uploaded yet at the time
There's a
that we're
couple more
recording
that's
this.
yeah.
So we've done about like 18 movies, I think, at this point. And we currently know what our top two worst are. That like any really bad movies we watch in the future is going to be kind of compared to, are they, is this as bad as these other ones?
Yeah.
Because I can tell you this, the next series we're going to do some other solo movies, but the next series we're going to do after this is going to be Terminator. As much as I hate Terminator Genesis, I don't remember hating it this much as those two movies. Maybe
Yeah.
it'll change when I rewatch it. Maybe I'll discover a newfound hatred
Maybe
for it when we get
maybe
to
you'll
it.
discover a newfound seed of hatred that just germinates and spreads and makes you just go, no, fuck it. But until then,
And
apparently Terminator's a better franchise.
yeah, so I think unless you got any closing thoughts.
Second time through, still a mediocre hot mess. It's nowhere near as good as the previous two, and as far as I'm aware, it's not as. It's not. I know it's not as good as the next movie, and I don't. And I would doubt that the fourth movie is anywhere near this bad.
I can't
They'd
imagine it
have
being
to
this
mess
bad.
up pretty badly for the fourth one to be this bad. But we'll have to see.
All right. So until next time, everybody, have a good one.
Till next time.